was the key player that sort of had to help the transition from Ronaldo to the next generation of players. Eden Hazard is constantly injured. So that's definitely not helping. Then, as you said, they have a very old squad. Not so old, but it's an aging squad. And, we were discussing earlier, how much credit did Zidane have for those 3 Champions Leagues that they won?
Well, exactly. I think when people look back at those 3 Champions League wins, and I don't like doing this to a manager and going, oh, you won it, but it wasn't down to you. But when people look back on that team, we're not going to remember the style of football. We're not going to remember the footprint of the manager. What we're going to remember is Sergio Ramos. What we're going to remember is Cristiano Ronaldo, right? It feels kind of like when Chelsea won it under Di Matteo, that the players won it more than the manager won it. Now, to win it 3 times, you would have to say the manager's doing something, I suppose. But I think that Zidane isn't that force of nature personality that other managers or that they need right now.
And agree to disagree, but I feel like all the former players who eventually became coaches, you brought to the table the example of Carlo Ancelotti. Carlo Ancelotti didn't start his managing career at AC Milan, winning all those Champions Leagues. Mm-hmm. He was coaching lower league teams, then eventually weaker Serie A sides. It took him some time to get up there. If I were Zidane, honestly, I've won it all in my footballing career. My first management job at my club, basically, because Real Madrid is like Zidane's club, I win it all once again. Where is the motivation now? I don't see him that into managing, honestly. You see Guardiola, you understand that man lives for coaching. Zidane, I feel like he does it for Real Madrid because he feels like he has an obligation towards Real Madrid, but he doesn't necessarily have a passion, if that makes sense.
Well, this is something I've thought for a while, is that I can only ever see him managing at Real Madrid. I think once he leaves Real Madrid, he wouldn't go anywhere else. I think you're right. He's there because Real Madrid need him more than he wants to be a manager, maybe. I think
that's exactly what happened. Yeah. They were like, man, we are in dire straits. We need you. And he was like, all right, I'll be back.
Exactly. And it's not going as well this time. I think I put it on Twitter. People say never go back, right? Why would you? After you've delivered 3 Champions Leagues, you're just like, no, I cannot do better than this. Find someone else. You're Real Madrid. Find someone else. Yeah. But maybe they'll have to soon. It's starting to look like he is a worried, troubled man. And as someone I don't particularly like as a person, I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that one. But staying very quickly in Spain, for the first time, you look at La Liga table and you don't see Barcelona and Real Madrid up top. Actually, Real Sociedad have been absolutely killing it. So Real Sociedad, who finished their last season 6th, right now they've been undefeated for 2 months in La Liga. Their last loss coming at the end of September. Only 2 losses in their season. One was against Valencia in La Liga and one against Napoli in the Europa League. Well, they're sitting first in La Liga at 24 points. They are the best attack with 22 goals and the second best defense in the entire league.
Well, yeah, and the player that is really standing out for them is, I'm going to say it Spanish style, Oyarzabal, who is... Thank you. Oyarzabal. I'll say it English. Oyarzabal. He has scored 7 goals and 2 assists so far this season. He's a player who is great fun to watch. Nice, tricky, jinky little winger. Been really good for them. They've got Alexander Isak up front, who's their highly rated Swedish talent. And they actually lost their kind of, in quotes, best player last year when Odegaard went back to Real Madrid. So I don't think anyone saw this coming. But the real highlight or the real kind of focus of their team has been their defence, where they've already kept 6 clean sheets in 9 games in La Liga. And there's only one player I think you can put it down to, and that is, of course, Nacho Monreal. Any team that has that hero in the defence are going to be doing well. And we could do with him at Arsenal once again. Come home, Nacho. We still love you.
You could do with a lot of former players.
We could do with a lot of former players. Giroud, I'll take him right now.
By the way, good job, Real Sociedad, a team From another country? No, I'm joking. I mean, a Basque team, at the top of the league, that's pretty big. And they have sick kids. I've always loved their kids. So we took a quick look at Group B. It's going to be a very intense week of the football in the Champions League next week. Keep your eyes also on Group H, which features PSG, Man U, and Leipzig, all sitting at 9 points. And then we've got next week, big game in Amsterdam, Ajax against Atalanta. Now, what is Atalanta's true identity? They tie against Midtjylland, and then they win against Liverpool. This team gets harder and harder to figure out.
Yeah, every time I watch them, I feel like it's kind of feast or famine with them. It's either they batter someone or they get battered. And it's indicative of the type of football they play, I suppose. When you're all out attack and when you're so offensive-minded, you're going to ship goals and you're going to kind of let the odd game slip. I think Atalanta and Ajax on paper looks like such a great game to watch for the football hipsters / football purists. And I will definitely be keeping an eye on that one. I think Liverpool will be relieved they've already secured their qualification, because you can't back on either of those teams losing or winning. So it's hard to, if you had something resting on it, it'd be hard to kind of bank on it, I suppose.
So yeah, as our friend Uncle Sharma on Twitter pointed out, what's going on at Atalanta? What about that little argument between Gasperini and Papu Gomez? So during the first half of the game yesterday, Gasperini called up Papu Gomez and he was like, man, don't go to the center. We have a striker. Rather play on the right. And Papu Gomez just went, nope. And then kind of told him to shut up. He was subbed at the beginning of the second half. Ilicic came on. Nevertheless, Atalanta were not able to win the game. And there are some problems at Atalanta. I mean, even in Serie A, their last 5 games, loss, win, draw, loss. And the only win that they got was against Crotone, who are last in the standings. And they won by 1 goal only. So not a very convincing win. In the Champions League, win, draw, loss, win, draw. I mean, when I said at the beginning of the season that Atalanta are very difficult to predict, it feels like Gasperini had found, let me try to word this properly, it's already difficult in Italian, let's try in English. He had found the key to the team, but he was relying a lot on basically the team flowing on its own. There was the excitement last year. Last year, Atalanta were the revelation, and they feel like the team thrived on that status of the Serie A and European revelation. The magic, however, ends. And so after the magic ends, you need more ideas. You need to, even after Inter won the treble, it was an unrecognizable team because they had done it all. Well, Atalanta hasn't done anything really, and it's very difficult. This is a new stage in his career, taking a team that is already good and making it even better. Well, guess what? They're actually going backwards instead of moving forward. That's what it feels like to me, at least.
It's not nice to see, really, but I think you see it with a few teams in the Champions League especially. They have like a big breakout season. It happened with Ajax, right? They got to the semi-finals. Okay, admittedly, they had a lot of their players then poached, right? So, of course, they're going to be less successful next year. But I feel like it happens to a few teams. They have it's a bit like after the Lord Mayor's show, if you know what I mean. They've had such a big achievement, and then there's such a crescendo of either success or heartbreaking failure that then it's hard to follow up afterwards with the same enthusiasm. It's like when you see, I don't know, in Serie B or in the Championship, a team will get to the playoff final, lose, and then the next season they finish mid-table or maybe get relegated because they put so much emotionally into that first season and it's not paid off, that then the second season is a hard slog to follow up.
Exactly. And we should also focus on another Serie A revelation last year, Lazio. Lazio might still go through. Actually, their Champions League form has been quite impressive. Win, draw, win, draw. They are playing next week their last game before possibly qualifying for the round of 16. They are playing against Club Brugge. They need a win or a tie to go through, and I think that they will get it. What's your opinion on that, Rory?
Yeah, I think Lazio should be getting comfortably through that. I think Dortmund are obviously a very hard team to play against, but they showed good spirit and good fight to get back into the team. The penalty looked a bit dodgy to me. I don't know if there was any contact, and if it was inside the area. Admittedly, I've seen it once or twice, but I thought it was a bit of a dodgy decision. It feels like Immobile, again, it feels like he only ever scores penalties at the moment. I don't know. Every time I look, it's like Immobile penalty.
He actually had a very, very good chance from outside the box last night, but there was a very good save from the goalkeeper, and he wasn't able to bag that in. But yeah, Lazio are not looking as bad as would have thought. Maybe they're undefeated in the Champions League, and they've managed to bag 4 points from 2 games against Dortmund. So that's pretty impressive.
And that is impressive considering that their league form hasn't been that consistent, right? They lost to Udinese at the weekend. I think nobody really saw coming. And Udinese looked, I saw the game, they looked comfortably the better team, comfortably. So it's maybe they're focusing more on the Champions League. Maybe it's just a welcome distraction from Serie A where it's not quite working out for them. But yeah, they've looked very, very impressive in the Champions League. And if Arsenal were in the Champions League, I wouldn't want to draw them in the knockout round because, again, you don't know if they're just going to turn up and absolutely smash you or you're just going to roll them over. They're a tricky side to predict.
Yeah. The other night, Michael is a good friend of ours. He's an Inter supporter like me. And we were looking at the group after the game against Borussia. And he said something very funny. He said, if Borussia and Real Madrid decide to tie the game, then Inter should just start bagging own goals so that Real Madrid go to the Europa League and we can focus on the Serie A. And they thought that was incredible.
That's brilliant. That would be great to watch.
Fuck you to the UEFA establishment. Guess what, Real Madrid, you're going to the Europa League. It just sounds like picturing Real Madrid in the Europa League sounds just so strange. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
It's not where they belong. It's Sevilla's competition, and it will remain that for the foreseeable future, I think.
Exactly. And finally, the last team that we have to cover in the Champions League is Atletico. They should be able to make it, but they need either a tie or a win against Salzburg. And for a team that has already conceded 8 goals in 5 Champions League games, I feel like that could be a game where anything could happen. But we shall see. Rory, anything to add about the Champions League?
No, I think we said it all. I think it's time to go home.
To go home? To your home or to my home?
To go to the home leagues, the domestic leagues. Did that link work? I don't think that segue works. Anyway, let's go to the Premier League.
Your home. Let's go. Premier League. Tell us everything about it.
So it was the games that I kind of highlighted as the games to look out for. I apologise to anyone that sat through Chelsea-Tottenham because Christ alive, that game was terrible. It was 2 managers who both had to act both happy that they'd drawn and disappointed that they'd not won, when actually they were just happy that they'd drawn. Like, both managers just went, okay, 0-0, let's see.
Yeah, before you go in depth, I always remember Mourinho back when he was coaching Chelsea, always praising Lampard. Like, Lampard is the one player that I would take to any other team. Ever since Lampard has started managing in the Premier League, it feels like their relationship has fallen off quite harshly.
Yeah, they seem to really dislike each other, and I think it might be because they both seem to be arseholes. Like, Mourinho is a difficult man to get on with. Is a difficult man to get on with. And Lampard is the mouthiest bastard on the sideline, shouting at Klopp, like, what have you won? Sit down. He's like, well, actually, he has won a few things. You've won things as players, mate. You have won things as a player. I'll give you that. But you've won fuck all as a manager. So maybe pipe down against the best manager in the league. I think they're both very strong characters who are difficult to get on with. You're going to disagree about Mourinho now. Let's hear it.
No, I mean, I just want to say that Mourinho is a great guy. I had this dream of actually meeting Mourinho in person with you, possibly, and showing you that he's a great person. I don't know, getting a beer together. I think he's great fun. Lampard, not so much. So if I have to blame one of the two for being a dick, that's definitely going to be Frankie.
I think I'm quite happy to accept Lampard as a bigger dick than Mourinho, by the way. But I do know someone who worked with Mourinho. He was the press officer at Real Madrid for like 10 years. I was thinking of getting him on the pod, actually. We could talk with him. But anyway, he was the press manager at Real Madrid for 10 years. And when Mourinho came in, he said that his life got a hell of a lot harder and he decided to leave the club that he supports and loves, and the job he loved, he left it because Mourinho was that much of a nightmare to get on with.
Yeah, this guy can stay home. I don't want him in the pod. If he's going to throw shade on Mourinho. I'm joking.
But he listens. Javi, I love you, and we are going to get you on the pod.